Bill Overdeer is here at the Peabody Public Library today. This is April 15th, 2010 for the Whitley County Oral History Project, and I am John Pontius. Thank you for being here with us today.
Happy to be here.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Linville Hospital in Columbia City.
Okay.
Almost died there too. When I was 10 years later, I had a ruptured appendix. And at that time, they didn't know much about what to do with a ruptured appendix, but I survived. Okay.
Where did you lived in Columbia City?
Yes.
And where?
Well, it was 208 East Market Street. That's where we lived when I got married and left home, but we had lived up on North Whitley Street and on East Jefferson Street before that.
Oh, okay. Who were your parents and where were they from?
Well, my mother was Mary Nelson, a maiden name. She was born, I think, in Monroeville or someplace in there. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure, but she came here from Ohio. Her dad or my granddad was a harness maker in Ohio, and he got to an opportunity to come to Columbia City, and the family moved to Columbia City. Mm-hmm. And my dad was born in Whitley County, Glen Overdeer.
Okay.
Most people knew him as Tubby. Somebody asked him one day if he minded if he called him Tubby. He said, "My mother did, I guess you can." So okay. He was always Tubby Overdeer.
What did he do? Now he worked, I remember what he did. He used to deliver gas for the Farm Bureau Co-op at our farm.
Yes,
right?
He did. I go back in my memory. Some things he did in my lifetime, but I don't remember, but I know he did it. He ran a dry cleaning shop, or a press shop, he called it, in Columbia City one time. Mm-hmm. Then my memories start when he had a service station at the corner of Ellsworth and South Main. It was a standard service station. And then the war started, World War II, and he went to work for Studebaker in Fort Wayne. And he worked there for about a year, and then he came back and went to work for actually Standard Oil first, delivering farm products, and then later on went to Farm Bureau, and that's where he retired from.
Now,
Take it back, he didn't know where he retired from. He finally quit doing that later in life. I don't know how old he was, but well in the 60s, maybe 70s, and he went to work at Whitley County Hospital.
As a volunteer?
No, he worked there. He was,
okay.
I'm not exactly sure, in the office, I'm not exactly sure what he did.
Now, isn't there a service station still at that same location? Or
It's a used car lot now. It's on the northeast corner of that intersection. Okay. They tore the old one down, built a new one, and then it got abandoned and became a used car lot.
Okay, I assume then you went to Columbia City High School and West Ward, was it? Or
yeah.
And you walked to school? Kind of all the way across town?
Yeah.
Across town.
It was...
you remember any teachers stick out?
One that sticks out is Max Gandy, who was he was principal of grade school when I went to grade school. When I went to high school, so did he. So he was the only principal I had in 12 years. He stuck out most of it. Okay. I liked Max. He was.
Oh, you liked him?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were say after school. In the afternoon or in the summers, what kind of things did you do?
Oh, well, after I got in high school, in the fall of the year, I'd go squirrel hunting. And I'd fish when I could. In the spring, we'd fish for suckers in Blue River. I guess that's where I first learned to like to fish.
Okay.
And did that until I got old enough to be employed, and then I worked at Myers and Stickler drugstore. Part-time. I worked for Squeak Sycophus in a service station down in the northeast corner of Washington and Van Buren. And then in my senior year of school, they had what they call a diversified education program. Mm-hmm. And I worked for Fred Gerig Construction Company in the mornings.
What did you do?
Oh, a little bit of everything. Mixed mud for the bricklayers.
Okay, so you worked right along with the regular...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Worked there all morning. And then went to school in the afternoon. When I got out of school, I went down and worked for Squeak at the service station. So I was pretty busy.
Okay. I also heard that you, one summer, you camped out in a tent all summer.
Yeah.
And, is that true?
Backyard. We did. Set up the tent in the backyard, and that's where I slept all summer.
Now, was that with anyone else?
Oh, if one of the neighbor kids happened to stop by for the night, we'd,
Oh,
yeah, but mostly it was just me.
okay.
And one time during that summer, my dad took, I think it was Jerome Fry and I up to Big Lake, and this was before Big Lake was settled like it is now, and about where the boat landing is now, we set up a tent. He and I camped there for about a week.
Okay.
And fished, and had a boat. Just had a
Okay.
good time.
So, who was your first wife passed away? Who was she and where was she from?
She was Trudy Pence, Gertrude Pence. She didn't like Gertrude. She went by Trudy. And she
Okay.
lived on the Cider Mill Road, where my son Mike lives now.
And you live near?
No, we still lived in town.
Okay.
We went to school together, and that's how we got acquainted.
Okay. And what was she like?
Little, very,
Okay.
very short.
Was she active in the community too, or in church?
She was active in church, and we were married before I went in the Navy, and she went with me to various places where I got stationed, where I was on land. But at sea, she wasn't, but we
Okay.
eventually ended up in Florida and got discharged in Florida, and we came back to Indiana and proceeded to have 3 sons.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, when you were a kid, when you were growing up, you were around the Jim Adams family quite a bit. It's kind of in your part of town there, was
Well,
it?
it was. We lived on North Whitley Street from the time I was born, I think, until I was about 6, and then we moved about a block away on Jefferson Street. Well, we were near the end of the street, and the Adams house was kind of up the hill.
It's that big brick house that's now the community foundation?
Yeah, that brick house. And,
Okay.
And Jim and I were about the same age. He might have been a
The
year.
son.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim. Excuse me.
What was Jim Adams like? Who was he and what was he like?
He was kind of a character. He was.
I'm talking, you're talking about the son.
Son, yeah, were you talking about the dad?
Yes.
Well, he was a town banker. He was kind of aloof to us kids. His mother wasn't. She was very, very kid-friendly to everybody.
Yes.
Jim, the thing, I don't know why it sticks in my mind about senior Jim Adams was that he was the first director of the Indiana State Highway Department.
Oh,
And that was
for the whole state.
for the whole state.
Okay.
Funny, I ran into a fellow a couple of years ago who was in his 90s at the time and very active. And I said something, he had worked for the highway department, and I said something to him about that. He said, yeah, I remember him.
Oh, okay.
And he was the one that told me he was the first one. And but he was,
What other things did he do around town?
Well-
He was started the Whitley Products.
Whitley Products, and I think Andy Lowe, I think, started that between the two of
Okay.
them. He was, remember they had the, what would you call it, the 100-year anniversary, I think, of Whitley County in 1838. And I was
Okay.
about 7 years old, but I remember that. He was very active in that. And I remember that they decorated what's now DeVoe Field, and they cut down pine trees from different places in town, took them down there and set them around, and they took the pine trees out of Mr. Adams' yard and to make that display. It was kind of
Okay.
neat. And I remember that about him. But I don't really have a lot of memories of him. Like I say, he was kind of aloof.
Okay.
And,
Okay. Very, very nice person too.
oh,
I
yeah,
think,
he was,
wasn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
he was fine. He was just a local businessman that everybody looked up to and was just,
Okay. And then, were you into farming then?
I didn't do that until when we came back from the Navy, lived in Fort Wayne for a few years and went to school at Purdue in Fort Wayne. That was before IUP.
Okay.
And it didn't take long to get it up in Fort Wayne. So we came out
Okay.
to Trudy's dad's farm where I live now. I built that house in 1963. And
Okay.
I don't know, just kind of fell into farming along about 1970 and got to raising pigs, raised a lot of those.
Okay.
And enjoyed it all. And
Yeah,
that lasted until 1992. I had a heart attack and had open heart surgery and healed up. I've never had a bad day since. But the next year, I farmed again And I got to thinking, there are a lot of things I'd like to do besides farm all the time. So I retired. And
Now that farm is on the far southeast corner of Thorncreek Township.
right in
isn't
the
it?
corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, were there any characters, interesting characters around there?
Some that you knew. Dwight Riley, he was quite a character. And he was,
Why was he an interesting character?
oh, he was, all the time I knew him, he was single. He, I guess you'd say that his way of life was kind of crude. He lived I remember him living in a house on the farm up there by himself. And I stopped up, several times I'd stop up, see him once in a while, just because he was an interesting guy. Very good farmer too, by the way.
Yes.
And he was living in one room of that house, in the kitchen. There was a bedroom off of it, and he slept in the bedroom. But his whole life was set, and he had no heat in that house. When you go up there in the wintertime, you'd have the oven door open and the burners on the gas stove, or the electric stove, and that was his heat. And something happened to the well at the house, he didn't have any water, he had to go down to the barn, bring his water back by buckets full.
How about the bathroom?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I don't know, probably the barn.
Okay, now.
But he was,
This before or after he was with Fern, his.
this was after Fern.
Okay, she
Yeah.
died. It was
She
just
died.
were they married?
Yeah, I believe so. I
Okay,
think. And,
all right.
but the last
So this
time-
was in his older age.
Yeah, this was, I don't know how old he was, but I
Okay.
remember I stopped up there, the last time I saw him, I stopped to see him, and he was in the kitchen, and he was eating cereal, and I think that's all he ate. He said, they tell me this stuff's good for me. And he got to talking about different people that had passed on, like my father-in-law, Herschel Pence, Toad Pence, Paul Rhodes, those old timers that lived around there, and they were all dead but him. And he'd talk about him, and he'd say, I'm gonna see him one of these days. And I got the feeling he thought he was gonna die.
Okay.
When I left there, I went up to Guy Jaggers, see Guy, and I said, if you wanna see Riley alive again, you better go down and see him, because he thinks he's dying. And by gosh,
Okay.
about a week later, he was dead. He just,
Okay, and there's a Riley Road there,
Yeah.
which I live on.
Yes, you do.
And probably partly because of his father, maybe there was
well,
the whole family lived
Right.
there.
he grew up on that house on Cider Mill Road where Dave Wygant lives now.
Okay,
And that was the Riley farm. There was a schoolhouse on that corner, which I don't remember. But on the corner of Riley Road and
No
Cider
longer
Mill,
there.
it was no longer there. I don't think I remember it. I don't know when they tore it down, but I know where it was. And
okay.
that was the Riley School.
Okay.
And,
Riley School,
Mhm.
okay.
And they lived, I think they took a piece off of the Riley farm to build that school.
Now, his sister was Nellie Riley Raber, right?
Yeah,
And she lived in that big
that
house.
big house.
And she was, I believe, county historian.
Yes, she was. And she and I think another one of her sisters did an inventory of all the graveyards in Whitley County, which is
Okay.
probably here in the library someplace. And
Okay, she was, Nellie Raber was very different than her brother. And,
Oh, yeah.
And was,
he was,
she was kind of sophisticated
right,
and
what was kind of crude.
Yeah.
I mean, that just,
but he was fun, and he was a really good guy.
he was an
Yeah.
interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah, and a good farmer.
Yeah, very good farmer.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Okay, let's talk about your career in a county council. When did you first run?
1984 was my first year on the council.
Okay, and have you been on ever since? Or,
No. I was on, let's see, till about, I think 1990, maybe.
Mhm.
And I didn't run that year because I wanted to run for state representative, and I wanted to separate the two. Well, I ran for state representative and
Okay.
lost. And the next election, I got myself back into the council, and I'm still there.
Okay, now the first time you ran, what did you do to campaign?
Just get my name known.
Okay.
Which
Did you give talks around the county?
Yeah,
or-
once in a while, someone, I would have to talk, I've talked to the Farm Bureau, and I don't
Okay.
know what else when they, of course, all those organizations try to get in canvas to talk, and I
Okay.
did. Probably didn't know very much about what I was getting into, but I found it very interesting. I like being a councilman.
What do you like about it?
Oh, the challenge of trying to keep the government running on an efficient basis without wasting a lot of money.
Okay, that's kind of your general philosophy there.
I think so. It's just somebody's going
Okay.
to do it. I feel like I'm capable, so I keep on doing it as long as the people elect me. If I don't like it,
Well, you must be, or you wouldn't be elected all this time.
Okay.
So who was on the council there the first time?
Well, Guy Jagger, which is probably one reason why I ran for council. Guy and I have always been very good friends. Boy, I gotta think of it.
May I ask you, are you representing a certain district?
No, I'm at large.
At large, okay,
And,
all right. And he was representing the Thorncreek area?
Yeah, Thorncreek,
Okay.
at Troy, I believe, Thorncreek,
Okay.
Troy, I think you represent.
Can you remember some of the others in the first few years that were on the council?
You know, right offhand, I don't really remember one whose name I can't remember at the moment, was the Standard Oil fuel agent in Whitley, in Columbus City at that time. I just can't remember his name. I'd have to think, well, if I saw the
Okay.
names, I'd say, oh, yeah. But I don't
Okay.
remember, but they're all,
Now,
except for one, Jim Bayman was on when I went on, and Jim's still on
and he's been on all this
all
time.
this time.
And who is he and where is he from?
Jim's from South Whitley. He's an
Mhm.
auctioneer and a realtor.
Mhm.
Got a lot of knowledge about the county. Does a good
Mhm.
job. Very fiscally conservative, and not one on wasting money. And does a good
Okay.
job.
Have there been some issues where, what have been some of the issues that really stirred up people?
Well, probably the stirred up the most people when the county participated in trying to get Steel Dynamics located here. That got pretty
Okay.
contentious. And
On both sides?
On
they-
both sides.
yeah.
at that time that happened, I happened to also been, and still am, the chairman of the County Redevelopment Commission, which
Oh,
we were involved in that a lot. And part of the time I felt like I had a target on my back. There were some people really, really upset about that.
Now, did people like call you up and
Oh,
rant and rave?
Oh, yeah, they sure did. The one thing though, if they would call and start in, I'd say, who am I talking to? And if they wouldn't tell me who I was talking to, what they were, that was the end of the conversation.
Oh,
I
okay.
would not talk with somebody who wouldn't identify themselves, and I still won't. If somebody got-
Have many people come to the council meetings?
No,
Not many people usually come.
no, unless they did over that issue. Another issue was building a gazebo on the courthouse lawn. I think half the senior citizens in the county were at that meeting. They packed the place. They wanted that gazebo built. So,
Really?
yeah, that was a big, that wasn't contentious exactly. It was just something that people wanted, and enough people wanted, and they were really serious about it.
Okay. So have the issues changed much over the years?
Not a whole lot, really. It just depends on whose ox is gonna get gored over something. Whether you get an issue about it. We had, I don't remember the year anymore, but we enacted the county adjusted gross income tax, which I expected to be very contentious. I think we had one person show up at that meeting.
Mhm.
But the reason behind that was either we had an income tax or increase in property taxes, and we've always tried to look at the property taxes as not exactly a sacred cow, but something that you don't monkey with if you don't absolutely have to. And the state allowed us that time to enact that
Mhm.
that tax, so we did. But that was even, we don't get as many people at council meetings as I would like to see.
Oh, okay.
It's nice to know how other people feel. Every once in a while, somebody will stop me and start chewing on me about something and say, I apologize, I don't mean to be nasty. I say, you're not nasty, but I don't know what you're thinking unless you tell me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate input from people.
Okay.
And Who have been some of the more important
important or influential people in Whitley County politics, or in the council?
Well,
I suppose Jim Bateman, since he's been there a long time, has had a lot of influence.
he has, but when people get on that council, new people come on, it takes them a couple of years to kind of figure out what, it does anybody, it didn't me, it will anybody else.
Oh.
And after you kind of get a feel for that council, we've had good councilmen, really have. They speak up, they tell you what they think, they're good, thoughtful people. We've been very fortunate in Whitley County. In my period of time, we've had good people on the council, we've had good commissioners. And they work together, they have to work together to make it operate, and that's not true in every county.
Because some are Democrats and some Republicans, is that the reason some counties don't get work together? Or?
That's probably part of it. If you read the Fort Wayne papers very much, you can see there's always friction between the council and the commissioners. Can you hold on a minute, I'll shut this thing off. When we put the steel mill out there, before we got that, we had industries interested in locating here, and we lose them, they go somewhere else. But Jim and I, who happened to be a Democrat, and me as a Republican, went down to the Department of Commerce, he was a commissioner, I was a councilman, and tried to get a grant, which we got, to build that water line, that tower. But Jim talked first when he got done, he said, "Oh, turn it over to Councilman Overdeer and he can talk to you." And one of the people, like commissioner, said, "You guys talk to each other?" Because that just doesn't. Council and commissioners traditionally don't get along too well. But we do, and we always have, for as long as I've been on there. We've always gotten along good.
Well, people in Whitley County seem to get along maybe as a whole. People are very friendly, aren't they,
Yeah.
compared to some other counties maybe?
No, I think Whitley County got a very thoughtful group of people. Even when you've got an issue, everybody will listen to what the other person's got to say. You may not end up agreeing on it, but you don't go out hating the other person for their thoughts. It's just even on the council. By the way, back to the politics end of it, in 24 years on the council, or whatever it is I've been on there, I have never seen a decision made based on politics. Not one.
Okay.
And I think that's great.
Now, have the Republicans, they pretty much dominate, they're the stronger party for quite a few years. You probably would, if you were a Democrat, you would have more trouble getting elected, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you do now. That wasn't always true, though. When I first went on the council, there were 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans. That's always stuck in my mind.
So it's not always been the case where the Republicans have kind of dominated?
No.
So.
I think if it's been dominated by anything, it's people with a conservative fiscal view.
Okay.
That's been the...
So it's possible, it was possible back a ways that some of the Democrats were very physically conservative.
Yeah, still are. Jim Arterbright, for instance, very much so.
And he was a Democrat.
He was a Democrat. Mike Schrader, who's currently commissioner, is a Democrat, and he is too. I mean, they're just good. We've just been lucky to have good, thoughtful people on those positions.
Now, the commissioners seem to have people on there that serve long periods of time too, don't they?
Yeah, Tom Rethlake is probably in his 3rd term, I think.
He's from Edna area?
Edna, Troy, yeah.
Okay.
And Don Amber is new, and he replaced Jim Arterbright, Jim Pettigrew.
He was from Union Township.
Yeah. And he was commissioner for, I don't know, maybe 16 years, and prior to that, he'd been a councilman.
Okay.
He'd been involved in county government for a long time.
Have there ever been any women as commissioners or council people?
We had 2 female commissioners once.
Okay.
They had some different ideas, and they weren't, first off, they did one thing stuck in my mind is really good. They got Whitley County in the recycling business.
Oh, okay. When was that? Not been too long ago.
Well, it's been probably 16 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
And at that time, recycling was just kind of beginning to be the thing. And they wanted to build our own recycling plant, which we did. which is now part of the, well, the recycling is still in there.
Where's that?
That's on South Line Street. It's
Okay.
part of the highway department.
Okay.
Like campus there. And we started out, they with the help of the council was involved in it too, built their own facility. I mean, they had the sorting, had everything there. It went in there, it was sorted and put away. Well, that caught fire and burned. Fortunately, the building was covered by insurance. We rebuilt the building and went to an entirely different system for taking care of recycling, which is what we've got now, where it's curbside, they pick it up and haul it off. Which turned, in my opinion, turned out to be a good move, because that was not very successful when we were doing our own. And it was also a fire hazard, obviously, because it caught fire and burned. But they were the ones that got us started at that.
Okay.
They also, one thing that always stuck in my mind, they had all the woodwork in the courthouse refinished. That's all walnut woodwork, and it's a beautiful building, and that was their idea to do that, and I like that. They were not very interested in economic development, and that was probably their demise when, because that came along about the time when that became something we needed to do. But the two of them came in the same time, went out the same time.
Most of the council and the commissioners seem to be farmers. There are a good share of them, or there's quite a variety of.
There's quite a variety. I was a farmer when I went on it.
Okay.
But we got a, let's see, Jim Banks, who is, I'm not exactly sure what he does, but he works for a construction company in Fort Wayne. We've got a retired state police officer,
Okay.
John Barrett. I'm trying to get down the line and see. We've got a farmer, Tom Western, a retiree, Glenn LaRue, an auctioneer, Jim Bayman, and I hope I'm not missing anybody, Kim Wheeler, who is a farmer and a well driller. You guys both think.
What are the issues for the county council different than the issues for the commissioners?
Yeah, but they're very closely related.
Okay.
The council is charged with raising the funds.
Okay.
I mean,
You vote on
taxes, tax rates,
Okay.
tax increases, decreases, and but the commissioners spend it. We get it.
They're the ones that decide how to spend it?
Well,
where?
We budget the money for certain things, and they request money for certain things, and we either give it to them or we don't. Generally, we do, because the commissioners are very close to the council. They discuss what their needs are,
Okay.
and we try to match them. But, excuse me.
Now, things are really different now that you moved out of the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, what's in the room where you used to meet in the courthouse? Yeah.
That whole second floor of the courthouse, the whole north side from east to west is the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
And on the south side, it's all clerk and election.
Okay.
The third floor is all courts. And the first floor is, let's see, county, no, not really. The police, the guard, courthouse guards, the sheriff's department got a part of it. I think probation still got a part of it. And of course, the custodial people got a part of it. That's pretty much the first floor.
Okay.
But everything else is moved to either the basement of the jail, which houses probation over there, the dispatch center, and there may be something else down there. I just don't remember for sure. The rest of it all went to the new county government.
You were president of the council at one time. Are you now? Or?
No, I've been several times.
So what is the president, what did you do it as president? You presided over the meetings?
Presided over the meetings and end up signing all the things that
Okay.
but it's
Did the commissioners meet a lot together outside of the meetings?
well, the commissioners meet.
I mean the council.
The council.
Yeah.
We can't have a meeting of more than 3 councilmen, so we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
And every meeting that is a quorum has to be advertised. So no.
Okay.
I mean, to say, do we see each other and talk about something? Sure we do.
Okay, yeah.
But as far as formally or informally getting together and make a decision, that doesn't happen.
Okay. I see your picture in the paper with some pretty well-known celebrities in politics. What famous politicians have you shaken hands with?
Well, the one that sticks in my mind the most probably is Richard Lugar, and the reason that does, I've met him several times. Kidded him one time about his decisions. He could walk out and go home and let's hear about it later. We make a decision, people don't like it, they're at the door on the way out. We joked about that, but he was here at the Lincoln Day dinner when I happened to be party chairman at that time, and he was our speaker when I went out to greet him when they hauled him in. First thing he asked me, this was after my heart attack, he said, "How you doing?" You know.
Oh, you remembered?
I don't know how he knew it. I mean,
Oh.
And after later on, I was talking to one of his aides, and I said, "You guys coached him pretty well." He remembered my name, and that I had a heart attack. He said, "We never said a word to him. He hears something like that, he just never forgets it."
Okay.
And that kind of impressed me.
Okay. Do you remember anything about Ralph Gates, who became governor?
Oh, yeah. He lived down the street block south of us.
Okay,
He
pretty
lived,
close.
yeah, he lived on the corner of Whitley and Jefferson, I think, on the southeast corner of it.
And did you ever see him casually?
Oh, yeah. Well, he was just another nice old guy in the neighborhood, really, although he wasn't that old. But when you're young, everybody's old. And,
Okay.
but I can remember my dad telling me one, and this is before I had any awareness of politics, we saw him somewhere, and he said, "He's gonna be our next governor," and he was, so that would have been probably 1947 or something like that. And which, another thing, if I got an interest in politics, and I owed it to my mother, she was very active in the Republican Party.
Oh.
She was deputy auditor and deputy treasurer. She wanted to run for one or the other at one time, and at that time, women didn't run for public offices. That was just a no-no.
Really?
Now they're about all are. But it was a no-no then. But she was very interested in politics. She was interested in history, and I'm very interested in history and have been, and I think I got that from Mom.
Well, you're making a contribution to history right now.
Well, my dad sort of has made one. I promised Deb I'd give her this, but I've got, my dad was quite a storyteller, and he had an interesting life, I think. And he would sit and talk about these things. We'd take the kids and go out to Mom and Dad's at night, and he'd get to talking. And Trudy decided that she was gonna write a book about his experiences. So she took a tape recorder every Sunday night out there, and she recorded these things that Dad talked about. And I told Deb I was gonna give them to her, and I am. But I'm gonna listen to them first. I wanna see if there's anything on there that's personal. But I'll get them to you one of these days. But you get talking about him, he was an interesting guy. He had an interesting life.
Now, you just mentioned a while ago off camera that you were involved in choosing the location of the library here, the new library. How was that? Were you on a committee or something?
Yeah, I was on a committee that we kind of planned this library, more or less. Like some of the things I remember that we talked about with dropping the books off in a sleigh to go to the basement and stuff, breaking them in hand, little odds ends like that. But in the course of it, we saw the plans, and this was to be on a crawl space. And I said, that's on a hill, it's gonna take a big crawl space wall. Seems to me like make more sense to make a basement out of that, even if you don't use it someday, you want that space. So we did.
So that's the Bill Overdeer basement, now being what would you call it, developed?
I think John Lefevre was on that too, and I think John was the person that came up with this location.
Okay, what was here all the past 50 years or so before the library?
It was farm ground.
Just farm ground?
I don't ever remember a building being on it.
Okay.
Of course, that was before the industrial park, and things have changed in these years. We lived on East Market Street, and I used to like to go squirrel hunting, and we would just walk out here and go, because there wasn't anything out here. The woods,
Okay.
we'd squirrel hunt. Of course, Highway 30 wasn't there either, and you had a lot of fun out here.
Now, how was it that you were on this kind of committee? Was that because you were on a council or something? Or
I don't really know.
Oh,
Jim
okay.
Clark, I think, asked me to be on that.
And who who else? John Lefevre, you?
And myself. I think Linda Tanis, I believe, was on that.
Mhm.
I think she was a board member at the time. Fleck was, I think, president of the library board. I don't remember who all was. There were, I don't know, 6 or 8 or 10 of us. And we didn't exactly plan it, as I don't mean it
Yeah.
that way, but just, we would go over the plans over there and say, make recommendations and stuff like that.
Okay.
And pick the site. Which I
Well,
like.
you've done a lot of things in your life. Is there anything that you are, especially proud of as councilman or in any other way that you'd like to mention?
Well, not really. I've done a lot of things. Sometimes I just got asked to do them, but I guess I don't know how to say no. If it's something I think I can do, I just do it. I spent about 10 years on the Indiana Commission on Courts. By act, I didn't, the Speaker of the House sent me a letter one day and appointed me to it. And I couldn't figure out how I got on there, but turns out that Judge Myers had recommended me for it, which kind of surprised me because I knew the judge, but not all well enough. But he said I'd be good on there, so I was there about 10 years. And when I went off the council, as a council representative, when I went off the council, of course I went off of that. When I went back on the council, they put me back on again. And then when the last election, when the Democrats took control of the House of Representatives, they fired me. So
You are chairman of the Economic Development. Now, what do they do?
I'm chairman of the Redevelopment Commission,
Redevelopment Commission.
and that's
For the county or for
the county.
For the county.
Yeah, the city has their own redevelopment
Okay.
commission.
And what all do you do?
Well, primarily our responsibilities lie with this tax increment finance district. There's
Okay.
got 3,300 acres out here that is what they call a tax increment finance district. TIF area.
Where you can invite companies to come in and
Right, and
build.
we've got some ability to do some financial things to help them. We put the infrastructure out there, the water tower and the sewer, and gave them to the city.
And who pays for this?
We pay for it out of the redevelopment commission, and that's from the taxes we collect on the increased assessed valuation of what's out there. If there's 100 acres out there and it pays X number of dollars of taxes, then that continues forever. They build a building on that, the redevelopment commission collects the taxes off that increased assessed valuation.
Okay.
So,
It's been successful, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
very.
Whitley County has really developed very well.
yeah, it has. We've been one of the leaders in northeast Indiana in doing that. And we've had 3 directors. The first one didn't last long. The second one lasted a long time.
And
she
it was a
very
woman,
good.
right?
Yeah, that was Dorinda Hayden, and she did a good job.
Okay.
She left to go to Elkhart County after, I think, 14 years. And now we have Alan Teo, who is also very good, really does a good job. And we get leads from various places of some company that might be interested in either expanding, one that's already ready to expand, or a new one. Alan works with them to get all the nuts and bolts. The redevelopment commission does also, and then if there is a financial decision to make or a infrastructure decision to make, like we make that.
Okay. Is there, who are a few of the people that you really enjoyed working with in the county council work or in any other way?
Well, from the council standpoint, I think I've enjoyed working for everybody that's been on there. Been very interested in working with Jim Bayman. I say him probably because he's been there the longest and I know the best from that standpoint.
Okay.
He's been a pleasure to work with. We've had some real good commissioners. The most recent ones that stick in my mind, Tom Rethlake, who's been on there for quite a while.
What is his background?
He was an education.
Okay.
He was,
he was like in high school there.
Yeah, well, he was athletic director at high
Okay.
school. He was also principal at Etna Troy. And I don't know
Okay.
what all else. He was also a star basketball player at Huntington University many years ago.
And I believe he had a son that was a
Yeah.
star bat.
Yeah.
And now, does he have a grandson maybe?
I just read in the paper last night about his grandson's a golfer, good golfer. And
Okay.
Jim Argerbright, Jim and I worked together really very well. but we're both on the redevelopment commission, so we interlock a lot.
Okay.
Jim Pettigrew, these are guys that have been there a long time, so you know.
A farmer, he was a farmer from Union Township.
Still
Okay.
is.
Okay.
He was good to work with. All of them really have been. We haven't had any, I don't ever remember any that were hard to work with. Just, there weren't any.
Okay. So we've talked about kind of your professional life. What kind of hobbies you've indulged in over the years?
Well, I like to hunt and fish. The hunting's getting a little harder to do at my tender age, but I've always enjoyed that. I've hunted a lot of places and fished a lot of places.
Now, I just heard something recently that you know how to clean turtles.
Yeah, I can do that. That's,
when did you start into this?
oh, when I was a kid, I think I'd catch one once in a while and clean them out and cook them. And then I kind of didn't do it for a long time, and a few, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, one of the boys caught a turtle someplace and I cleaned it. And my oldest son Mike is quite a cook, and he made Cajun turtle stew on that, which was delicious. And we had a cookout at home, invited a bunch of people. The first thing that was gone was that stew.
Oh.
So I've had to do several turtles so you can keep making stew.
Is there any special knack to cleaning a turtle?
I think there is, and I don't have it.
Okay.
I can get them clean, but it's a difficult thing to clean them.
Now, you have been a member of the Lutheran Church for many years, haven't you?
Yeah.
How long have you been
I was baptized, confirmed, and married twice in Grace Lutheran Church.
Grace Lutheran Church?
However, in between time, when when I came back to the Navy, we lived in Fort Wayne for a few years, and I was on we started Messiah Lutheran Church, which is now a big, we have with the group of people that started that. And then when we came back out here, for some reason, I got to go into Hope Lutheran Church instead of up here. I don't know why, I just did. And after my wife passed away, and Barbara and I got serious along the way, she was going to Grace Lutheran Church, and one of the kids was in catechism, so I just transferred back up here. So, been all my life up here, and I'll never be a 50-year member.
Okay.
Contiguous 50 years.
Well, you are involved or participate in a number of organizations. I've seen you at the annual 4-H incorporated meetings.
Yeah,
right?
I've managed to, for somehow or another, stumble into things. I was on the extension board for a while. I was
The 4-H extension.
yeah, I was the member supervisor with the Whitley County Soil and Water Conservation District.
What do they do?
Well, they promote soil and water conservation primarily.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
it's a kind of an offshoot of state government, funded primarily by the federal government. And this wetland out here was put in through them. And they don't do much of making wetlands anymore. But now they do some though, I guess. And they promote conservation farming.
Okay.
That's the no-till farming that we do now was originated through that Soil and Water Conservation District.
And along rivers, they promote what, grass or
Grass,
something?
anything, anywhere to stop erosion,
Okay.
basically. And I'm on the board of the Community Foundation. I don't know if I've been on something
I
else.
see you at basketball games
I go to
too.
basketball games.
You like basketball?
Yeah, I'll tell you the big thing about it is kids. A lot of the kids Barb had in school years
Oh.
ago, some of them I
Your
remember
current wife.
Judy having school. Yeah,
Yeah.
my current wife. My first wife had those kids and they grew up, and that was after. She
Uh-huh.
was gone, but I remember the names of the kids and I like to go and watch them play, and a lot of them now are kids that Barb had. So,
It's a good place for the community, a good thing to do on a Friday or Saturday night, and it's very lively
Yeah.
and kind of rooting for the community there, and so.
that's part of it. Show support for your community.
Yes,
And to me, that's a big thing.
yes.
I mean, this has been a good community to me, and if I can
Good
give
place.
something back, I'll do it.
Good place to grow up and live
Yeah.
all your life.
Yeah, it is, and I have pretty much, except there was about 10 years when I was either in the Navy or living in Fort Wayne that I missed out on.
You were in the,
I was in the Navy for 4 years,
oh, okay.
and then I come back to Fort Wayne. I think we lived there about 6 years before we came back to
Okay.
the community. So there's a 10-year period in there that those people that grew up in that time, I don't know. I mean, I do now. I've gotten familiar, but there's things happened then that I don't have any recollection of.
Well, you're kind of a walking encyclopedia of the whole county now and its history, so,
A lot of good history. I got a lot of that from my parents.
okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to all this?
I will put in a little plug for my dad. This is for Dad's benefit.
Okay,
When he was 14, they were building a tabernacle where the Bowen Center is now. All the churches in town got together to build this tabernacle, big revival, bring everybody into Christianity.
where was this?
Where Bowen Center is,
Oh, really?
yeah, that was before it was a garage. When anything there, they built that building. And he was up on, as they were building it, he was up on the roof. Now, my dad apparently was one of those people if something was going on, he managed to be there throughout things in his life. I mean, it just worked out that way. But the roof fell in, and he broke his leg. And somebody got killed in that. I don't remember who it was. I didn't know, of course, that was before my time. But somebody did. But Doc Ben Linville set his leg and all that. And I could remember Dad talking, all these are on that tape, but a guy named Frank Raber was a state senator at the time, and he lived where Willie Goble lives now, I believe.
Next
And
to
Dad said-
Smith's?
Yeah, back in
Okay.
Smith's, and Dad said they'd sit out on the porch and talk and play cards, because he had something wrong with him, and they were both recuperating. But anyway, that was the beginning of Dad and Dr. Ben. When he was about 16, he quit school, and he went to work for a doctor driving him. Now, this was in 1916.
Okay.
And this was, they drove around with a horse and buggy, horse and sleigh, just the two of them. They made house calls over the county. And there's stories on that tape about doing appendectomies on a kitchen table. And Dad was the anesthesiologist.
How do you suppose you did that?
With a ether then.
Okay.
And Doc it up, and they did all kinds of things. And he's had more interesting tales about working with Doc Ben you can imagine. That's why she wants those tapes. There's a lot of them on there.
I want to hear more about this tabernacle.
That's about all I know about it, except Dad told me that that's what it was. And he said that all the churches in town got together and they were gonna have a big Christian drive. It wasn't an event.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't one particular
No,
denomination?
it was
Oh.
a lot of them. And,
Okay, let's see, about when would this be?
it would have been in 1914, because I think
Okay.
he said, he was born in 1900.
Okay,
And he wanted to live to be to 2000, so he could live in 3 centuries, but he never quite made it.
and was that where Schrader's?
Schrader's Drive.
Used to be?
Yeah. Yeah,
Now, that was, what dealership was that?
Plymouth, I think.
Plymouth. And was that where Don Chapman or somebody used
Yeah, it was
to
Don.
be the service manager?
I think Don was, a son-in-law of the Schraders that owned the place.
Okay.
Family,
And
yeah.
he married a Schrader.
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
that's right.
And what happened to them? How long have they been gone?
Well, I don't really know.
It's been like,
Sometime, I don't know. I'd say it probably in the 60s, maybe the late
Yes,
60s.
yes.
It ceased to be.
and then Bowen Center.
Well, I don't know if there was anything in that building, but the county looked at that building, about buying it and renovating it.
Yeah.
Instead of building this new building, but
Yeah.
it would have cost as much as that new building. And it also had contaminated soil under it, which it still has probably, because they didn't dig it out. And
Okay.
we just didn't want the responsibility of that, so we ended up
So,
building it.
so the courthouse was, for a number of years, there wasn't enough room.
No, it got
Right.
too crowded.
Yeah,
And that's why
okay.
it ended up.
And you were, seems to me, in the hallway, they were even having,
Yeah.
for a while, some offices.
Yeah, we
Okay,
did, kinda.
okay,
And so it was time to do something.
yeah.
And we had built that new jail, and we had a bond issue to pay for that jail, and we needed the building for the county building, but we waited until the bonds were paid off from the jail before we built the county building, so that the money we were spending.
I see, I see. And so you're glad you built the county building, and it's working out pretty
Worked out
well?
very well. Freed up a lot of
Okay.
space in the courthouse, made the courthouse in a courthouse.
Yeah.
It's got the courts and the prosecutor.
Okay,
And the
right.
clerk, which are all court
Okay.
functions. So,
Well, thank you very much for
Sure.
telling us about your experiences and your knowledge of history for the benefit of all the future generations.
Well, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope I didn't tell you anything you didn't want to hear.
Okay, thank you.